Welcome to the Drivin Agricultural Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, professional breakaway roper and a member of the Ag Truck Trader Pro Rodeo team. Here at Drivin Agriculture, we are all things agriculture all the time, and our main priority is doing what's best in the ag space, talking trucks. So strap in and let's go roll some coal. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Drivin Agricultural Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, and I am here today talking about something that everybody has wanted to know about, and that is what we call the AGwagon. And here to talk with me today about the AGwagon is the one and only fierce leader, Mr. Pat Driscoll. He's going to break down all the things. We're going to go through everything and unpack this AGwagon. So, Pat, thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me along, Jordan Joe. And fierce leader here, but rodeo royalty we have in Jordan Joe Hollabaugh.
Fierce leader in rodeo royalty. I'm kind of getting used to that title a little bit now when people don't call me rodeo royalty. I'm like, excuse me, did you not know? You don't know I'm royalty? I'm just kidding. But we all have a good time, and that's one thing we love about being part of the AgPack family is we have, nicknames for each other. So there we go.
We do.
Pretty cool deal.
And we have a great time, don't we?
We do have a great time.
Yeah.
We do have a great time.
Well, most of it we can put out in public. Sometimes not so much.
Yeah, we only edit certain parts of this podcast. No big deal. And if you want to hear the edited version, you can go and you can pay more for that. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. But well, thank you guys for all joining us today. That's one thing we wanted to talk about is we've been talking about this AGwagon, right? Everybody's seen the pictures. If you haven't, you need to go look. It's beautiful. It's all over on our social media, everywhere on our website. We just kind of wrapped up and everybody's getting their ground back under them after the official Ag Rally 2025 in Fort Worth Stockyards. It was an amazing event, and we talked all things AGwagon there as well. So today, my goal in this is to unpack where this came from, because there was a vision behind it all. There was a conversation that started it and how it's gotten built, and then how everybody can get their hands on one of these awesome trucks. So let's start with, where did this conversation originate from, Pat? And why did the Certified Ag Group have a vision to bring the AGwagon to fruition?
Appreciate that question, and it's always fun. You know me, I love the historical perspective on things. So we're gonna dive into a little bit of history here to talk about the origins of the AGwagon. It actually started several years ago, and it was just through casual conversation, through trade shows and whatnot that this whole thing started, and it was all unbeknownst to us. Nobody at that point, when these conversations were going on, realized it would result in a first ever purpose-built agriculture truck called the AGwagon. So what these conversations were is we originally started out as a Ram only program. We were exclusive to Ram. This program was all built out around being the action to the call to action that Ram had created with the God Made a Farmer Super Bowl ad that I think we all still clearly remember.
If you need to clear your tear ducts out, go watch the God Made a Farmer. Continue.
Unbelievable. I always tell people 3 things happened during that 2 minutes that have never happened before, especially simultaneously. One is that advertising executives were silent. They didn't know what to say. They've always got something to say, and all of a sudden they were silent. Second thing that happened is consumers wanted to be farmers. That's never happened. And the third thing that happened is farmers cried, and that never happens. So it was an amazing 2 minutes. Anyway, it was also an insanely good, arguably the best I've ever seen, call to action on the part of a brand saying, agriculture, we want you, we appreciate you, let's do business. But there wasn't an action in place. And so this whole program was created as part of the action out of that ad. So fast forward through the next few years, being a Ram only program, we attended trade shows with Ram. We would go to Farm Progress, Husker Harvest, all these trade shows, agricultural events, and then internal trade shows. So at the time, Fiat Chrysler had what was called Business Link. They still have Business Link. It has changed under Stellantis a little bit, but Business Link is a program dealers could join within Fiat Chrysler to help them focus on the commercial customer. And so we would go to business link meetings where we were in front of dealers all day long, talking about what we do along with the business link team. And through all of those meetings, and you can ask Peyton about this because she used to be a not a brand ambassador, but she used to be actually a product specialist. So she knew more about the trucks than most of the people she was talking to, which was awesome to watch. Anyway, through all of these different events that we were at, we would talk with people about what farmers and ranchers do to their trucks when they buy them. And actually, there's some interesting new research out that shows more than 90% of farmers and ranchers feel that their truck is under-engineered for agriculture. Well, that speaks directly to what we're talking about here. They would buy a stock truck, and they would take that truck someplace, and they'd be stripping parts off and putting better parts on to try and bring that truck up to the agricultural performance that they needed out of that truck, and to have the accessories like two-way radio communications and whatnot that they needed in that truck. So we would be talking, especially with dealers, about how farmers and ranchers would buy the stock truck, would then change that truck before it even got to the farm or ranch to make it more ag capable. A gentleman by the name of Scott Vickery was with the Business Link program. He was what was called an SBSS, a small business sales specialist. And Scott's actually got some agricultural background too. He and I became good friends, and he had a real appreciation for the value that our program could bring to the agricultural customer. And through all of this, and Scott listening to me explaining how farmers and ranchers were adjusting their stock trucks to be more ag capable, Scott developed an appreciation for that. Fast forward again a little bit more now into the Fiat Chrysler organization selling to Stellantis. Peugeot is the parent corp now. And when that transfer happened, Scott had an opportunity to step into the vice president's role at Fox Factory, which, for those who don't know, Fox Factory is the foremost off-road performance company in the world. They build, you watch these Baja races and you watch all these insane off-road vehicles. Fox Factory builds those, and they own the technology behind those. Scott's now the vice president. And a couple of years ago now, Scott, at the National Automobile Dealer Association annual meeting, NADA, takes me aside and says, I need to have a conversation. I've spent years talking and listening and hearing your explanation about what farmers and ranchers do to their trucks, and I think we can provide a solution. Do you think that there's a market for a ready-made, purpose-built agriculture truck? And that was the pivotal moment, Jordan Joe. That was the pivotal moment where we went from just talking about what farmers and ranchers do to the truck to there actually being this idea of somebody that's qualified building this truck. And so after I picked myself up off the floor from him asking that
You're like,
question,
did you just ask me that?
I said, yes. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting here? And he said, I think we can do this. It's not anything like we've ever done at Fox Factory before, but knowing agriculture the way I do, knowing you, knowing all the pieces are just coming together for me, and I think we can do this. And so at that point, we shook hands on this idea of a purpose-built ag truck. Didn't have a name, didn't know what that purpose-built meant, none of that, just this concept of moving it forward. And then over the next few months, we very quickly assembled a team of stakeholder farmers and ranchers that provided the input. They spent time working with the engineers at Fox Factory. There were builds, there were tests, there were more builds, there were more tests, and then progressively over the course of a few months, they really knuckled this thing down so that there was a purpose-built agriculture truck.
Well, and one thing I want to hone in on is you guys made this agreement with a handshake. And
Mhm.
especially if you know our industry, that is what you have. All you've got is your word to stand on, and literally the handshake. And so that's where this all started. That's where the ag wagon started, was literally with a handshake, conversation, idea, handshake. So I love that. I want to talk a little bit more about the partnership with Fox Factory and the certified ag group as we went along, as these builds, trial, error, but make, remake, went along. What did that process look like? Who was involved in it, and how did you guys decide? Like, was there a conglomerate of people? Tell us a little bit about how that process went.
Sure. So again, 14 farmers and ranchers from across the country. You met some of those folks. We had Donald Broom, who's a large rancher out in northwest Colorado. Jim Mueller, who has the whiskey ranch in Kansas. We had Steve Vink, who is a fruit producer in Michigan. Dennis Campbell, he's a cash cropper, a large cash cropper in eastern Iowa. Devin Cruz, also from Iowa, but the opposite side. He's in the northwest part of Iowa, cash crop and hogs. We had vegetable production out of Wisconsin. We had Peyton, who's on our team, but also ranches in Texas, fifth generation there in Texas. We had representatives from the equine and rodeo segments of agriculture all across the board. Cotton, forestry. We had folks that had all kinds of different interests in agriculture, and we brought all of them together. And so this was a process of collaboration. All of those growers, along with the engineers from Fox Factory. So if you could have a what do we want to call it? A mind melt, a power
A melting
brokerage.
pot.
Uh,
So, you
So
basically created an agricultural melting pot of all the
we did.
people.
We did. Yep. And we call them our stakeholder group because everybody has a stake in what this truck is. And through the course of communicating with those engineers listening, building out a truck and trying to I'll give you a great example. The suspension system in this truck actually is made up of three different suspension systems. So you've got the Fox 2.5, which isn't even a standard Fox 2.5. It's tweaked. You've got Firestone Air and you've got BDS heavy duty components in there. So they combine three different suspension systems to create an agricultural performance system that does what agriculture needs it to do. So, you tried one system, it didn't work. You tried another system, it didn't work. It did some of the things you want, but then when you find a way to fuse those systems together and then to be able to remote control it from the cab of the truck, now you've got something that is very uniquely agriculture and that literally only three people in the world know how to build. And they're all at Fox Factory because they are the world's foremost off-road engineers. So you bring these farmers and ranchers together. They're collaborating with these engineers, and of course, and you know this, Jordan, farmers and ranchers by nature are tinkerers. And we love to tinker and to build things and to come up with new equipment ideas and whatnot. So it was for these growers, it was actually a lot of fun uh, because they got to tinker on a truck and find ways to make the truck the best ag truck that they possibly could. So that collaborative process was just it was fun for everybody. The best part for us though was when we kind of had a wrap on, okay, here are the 28 modifications that we've made to the stock truck, and then to see the members of the stakeholder group engaging this truck, it was almost an emotional experience.
Well,
um,
and I can only think it was like Christmas for farmers to be like, this is my desire. This is what, and I know every farm and every production, every ranch has a little bit different requirements, or like, if I could have the perfect truck, this would be it. And out of these 28 components, there is literally one of those things that is the perfect world truck for everybody who is on this panel.
right. Yep. And that's what we call the base ag wagon. So where all 14 farmers and ranchers agreed that this is something they need, well, that represented a universal agriculture need. And that's what makes up the base ag wagon. One of the tenets of ag wagon is customization. because not even, I go to Donald Broom with the Sombrero Ranch. They've got I it's somewhere north of 40 trucks across the three different ranch locations, and all of those trucks are different in what they do and how they need to be built. So one of the key tenets of AgWagon is to be able to customize it. So you've got the base. That's where all 14 agreed. Yep, that's something I've got to have. But then you get into customizing. I mean, flatbeds. There's 7 flatbed options, from a straightforward flatbed to a beautiful hauler style bed. But you've got the bale bed with the bale spike, hydraulic bale spike on it. Well, I mean, so you can customize this truck to what you need. It can be a short bed, long bed. It can be single rear, dual rear. It can be any trim level. And of course, it's Ford, Ram, Chevy, GMC. You can build it on whatever heavy duty, super duty platform you want. So, but that process was really remarkable. It was a lot of fun. And the stakeholders have walked away from the truck. Again, one of the coolest parts for us when they engaged the truck, it's like, well, that was Donald's idea. They're doing this. That was Steve's
Yeah.
idea. That was Jim's idea. That was Michael's idea. And it's like you can go through that truck and every one of those modifications, you can take it back to the farmer or rancher that originally said, what about this? That is really cool to watch these guys do. And here's what it all comes down to. The why did we do this? Because one, farmers and ranchers are already making modifications. And in order to make all of the modifications that we're making to the truck, is going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to make these modifications. And when you make most of these modifications, somehow it nullifies a factory warranty. Um, Doing it the way we're doing it, everything is custom fabricated. You're not buying stuff off the shelf. We're able to do it cumulatively for less money than it would cost to buy the off the shelf stuff, which frankly isn't nearly as good. And some of it you can't even buy off the shelf because it is proprietary. But then to be able to do all of it and take the truck and still have all the manufacturer's original warranties on it. I mean, that's why we're doing this is because we're able to bring all of the needs together and continue to deliver those factory warranties.
Well, and on top of the factory warranties, like as I'm sitting here thinking, okay, we're gonna have ag wagons for years to come. And so you're gonna have people in the next couple years buying used ag wagons,
Mhm.
which were the then pierces the question, well, what about the warranty then? Well, we've also got a solution for that because we have warranty packages that we offer on used vehicles under the certified ag group as well. So we've got you covered there too.
Indeed. Yeah. So you get your manufacturer's warranty. When you buy the new ag wagon, you get your manufacturer's warranty. Plus Fox puts another 3 years, 36,000 miles on it. But then you also have CAD Protect. So the extended service contract is out there and reminding people, CAD Protect, if you look at the extended service contracts that are out there, we reviewed a whole bunch of them and we couldn't find one, not one, that didn't have some kind of an exclusion if the vehicle had been used for agricultural enterprise. And so that's why we created CAD Protect, was so that there is a service contract available through certified ag dealers, but a service contract written exclusively for the agricultural truck instead of excluding it. So to your point, CAD Protect is available on the used ag wagons. Is that and here's something cool too. We've already been talking about this, Jordan Joe. May not have even shared this with you yet, but we are when you buy certain vehicles, there's a lot of times an owners club that goes along with that. Mini Coopers, Corvettes. There's these owners clubs. We're actually going to create an ag wagon community so that as used ag wagons are coming onto the market, there is a place where people can go just to find used ag wagons, and that'll be at agtrucktrader.com.
I love it. Well, and you nailed it on the head, Pat. You said literally everything that you did for Ag Wagon was exclusively targeted towards agricultural customers, the farmers, ranchers, rodeo people out there. But everything we do at Certified Ag Group is exclusively for the agricultural community. And so there's no other company that is doing that. And that's why I love to be a part of the certified ag group, because it is all about ag. Like, we're putting ag first. And that's something I think for years and years and years, we've always come second, third, fourth, maybe even weren't even in the factor when it came to any of these things. Now you guys are putting the agricultural community and their needs and desires first. And so that's why I think it's so cool. But let's talk about, I mean, I know this conversation, so this is still very new, and we're all excited, but it's like, how can we get the ag wagon? Where can we get the ag wagon? What does that look like? Like, just give it to me already.
And it's a great question. And we've been behind schedule on getting to production. There have been supply chain issues that we've been up against. Frankly, most recently, the whole discussion on tariffs has entered in, and availability of raw products, because so much of what we're doing on the ag wagon is custom fab. The ultra heavy duty front and rear bumpers, the headache rack, all of these pieces are all custom fabbed inside. You can't buy this stuff anywhere else on the market. It comes only on the ag wagon. Sourcing the steel has been problematic, and has gotten a little bit more so with the whole tariff conversation. So and that's not I want to be clear that that's not a political judgment on
Right.
anything.
No, it's just stating the
It's just
facts.
it's just a fact of the market right now. So we're a little behind, but I am pleased to say we are officially in production with Ford ag wagons as of last week. So there are Fords lined up at the Fox factory plant right now that are going into production, and we will have Fords that'll be landing beginning here in a couple of weeks. Ram is not far behind, and so I would say by June 1, you'll start to see Rams out there. And then Chevy GMC will be right at the front end of Q3 that you're going to see the Chevy and GMCs out there. So that gives you a little bit of an idea what the production schedule is going to be on the Ram, or on the ag wagons, depending on which brand you want. Now, in terms of where to get these, this has also changed a little bit for us. Originally, the ag wagons were only going to be available through certified agriculture dealers. Because of bailment pool rules, I won't get into the weeds on what bailment pools are and whatnot, but it's something that directly affects our access to trucks.
Right.
Due to bailment pool rules, we need to open AgWagon up to all dealers in the United States, franchise dealers that would carry Super Duty or heavy duty trucks. So Ram, Ford, Chevy, GMC dealers. So you're going to be able to get an ag wagon through any dealer in the country. But if you buy through a certified agriculture dealer, you're going to get a minimum $3,000 discount on the truck. So you're going to want to buy from a certified ag dealer, one, for the additional $3,000 off the truck, but two, because you're also going to get ag pack with that truck when you buy it from a certified ag dealer. Ag pack's worth another 45 grand in farm supply savings if you use all of them. We know not everybody uses every single benefit in there, but we do know that the average of all the folks last year that got their ag packs, we know that the average savings per farm was just a shade under $15,000.
Wow.
That's real money back in the bank on the truck investment. So you're looking at almost $20,000 in return on the truck if you buy it from a certified ag dealer versus a non-certified ag dealer. Because we are in production on the Fords right now, you can put an order in and you can get that truck within a couple of weeks. We're going to start doing in May, we're going to start doing pre-orders on the Rams, and then shortly thereafter, pre-orders on the Chevys and GMCs. So again, that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of the timing, and then the availability, where to buy those around the country.
Well, and that makes me excited because the next episode we're going to be talking to our one and only team captain, Mr. Leighton Berry, and Ms. Darla Lint, who is with the PRCA. So not only can you get the Ag Wagon exclusive from any dealer, but mainly you want to buy it from an Ag Pack dealer because, oh yeah, you're going to save $45,000 worth of rebates. Just saying. But also you can get the Pro Rodeo Ag Wagon edition. And so that is going to be huge. And I can't wait to see all of those driving around at the NFR this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, my Ram Pro Rodeo Special Edition is going to be in production here very soon, and I'm very excited about that. That's what I'll be driving, and you're right. We want everybody to be aware. There's the base ag wagon. There's being able to customize it from there, but then we also have in celebration of our partnership with PRCA in support of all of the athletes and the fans of Pro Rodeo, we have the Pro Rodeo Special Edition that's out there that you and the your fellow Ag Truck Trader Pro Rodeo team members and a couple of stock contractors and folks from PRCA all provided input on what they'd like to see in a Pro Rodeo Edition Ag Wagon. And there's 10 more modifications on top of the 28 we've already made. There's 10 more modifications that come on that Pro Rodeo Special Edition. My favorite is the stock monitoring system.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's really cool.
it's really cool. And if you watched Ag Rally, you mentioned Ag Rally earlier, where we were doing we had in that third hour, we had almost 45 minutes of Ag Wagon capability live testing out on the Laramore's Ranch in Granby, Texas. And if you had been watching that, you saw there's that extra monitor in the cab hooked up to the camera inside the stock trailer in the back, and you could see Austin loading up horses, and you can monitor those animals literally as you're driving down the road with that. So a lot of really cool features of that Pro Rodeo Special. It's not just the graphics. Graphics are cool. There's a lot of functionality,
Yeah, that
real
actually
world.
works. That's
Yeah.
applicable. That's the one thing my biggest takeaway about the Ag Wagon is, as I heard about it and I heard it was getting built and all the things, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds cool." And then actually getting in and seeing the capabilities and then watching it an actionable item. Like for me, watching my horses in the trailer as we're in there for, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time is huge just to know what's going on, what they need, and what I can help them with. And then all the other capabilities that come with it for us as rodeo athletes are astronomical. But then you take that to the farm, you apply it to the ranch, and they actually work. They're working items. They're not like you get them in a box and they break. Like they ain't breaking. They're really good. So it was really neat to just see it, feel it, experience it, and I think that that's something. If anybody's interested in an ag wagon, you can go to agwagon.com, find out all these details, look at all the specs. There's over 28 different options. Like you said, you can customize it any way you want. I think that that's just really, really important. But Pat, what's your one last final takeaway? I mean, we're going to be talking about this ag wagon all year long for years to come. But what are you most looking forward to as they start to roll out and they actually are feet on the ground, ag wagon tires on the ground?
Well, and I love that. So I will share. We're trying to incorporate AgPack partners into this. So those Ag Wagon tires that are on the ground are, by the way, BF Goodrich HD Terrain tires, and
Hey,
Bedrock
Gary,
Truck,
we're going to be
and
talking to Gary too.
there you go, and Bedrock Truck Beds, and
Yes.
and I mean, so we're incorporating our AgPack partners in there, which, given the AgPack benefits that you get for those products, there's even more money that'll come back on that truck through the rebates that you get on those as you put them on the Ag Wagon. I think the other thing I'd like to share real quick, and this will hit home for you, and I think others in rodeo. We just had a conversation late last week with Shay Fisher. And if you watched Ag Rally, you saw Shay and Easton Corbin performing in our fourth hour, our entertainment hour of Ag Rally. Shay is, of course, an Australian country music star. She's had 6 number ones in Australia and is now working on her U.S. Country music career, married to Tyson Durfee. And the call last week, as a result of Ag Rally, she and Tyson had actually been doing a lot of research on the Ag Wagon, and she's like, the truck is amazing. We need to get our hands on one of these trucks. because it puts checks in every single box of our rodeo way of life, and being on the road all the time, but also for everything we're doing on our own ranch here in Texas. And it really brought home for me. Here's a person that we had not asked to do research on this thing. Here's a person who is arguably of status, right? That has taken all of this time. The people, both of them, had taken all of this time to research this thing and go, holy cow, this really does put checks in all the boxes. And it was just really reaffirming for us to hear that from Shay. So you'll probably be hearing more from Shay about this as a result of all those conversations. But that might be another interview
There
opportunity
we
for
go.
you here
We
on
maybe
Driving.
get to talk to
Yeah,
Shay and Tyson this summer. Is there maybe out there in their ag wagon?
I'm sure you'll see each other from time to
Yes.
time on the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah. Uh-huh. We will. We will. We most certainly will. Well, and I think that, even as a part of the Ag Truck Trader Pro Rodeo team and everything else, just the thought that went behind this, to actually bring it to fruition for everybody, that it actually is helpful and it actually makes a difference. And you're putting, like we said earlier, agricultural first, rodeo first, farm first, ranch first, no matter what category you fall in, we're all under ag in some sort of way. And so being for me, knowing that somebody's putting us first, that makes me a loyal customer, and that's where I'm going to stay. And so that's what the priority is for me. And then on top of that, it looks great rolling down the road and coming up and all the things. So it's a pretty cool truck. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
I agree wholeheartedly. Agwagon.com is where you can check it out. Or actually, you could go if you want to see it in action. Let's mention this too, Jordan Joe, that you could go to agrally.com and watch the field demonstrations,
Yeah.
where you're actually watching this thing go through kind of an American Ninja Warrior course that they set up on the ranch, where it's pulling and it's dragging and it's hooking up and it's hauling and it's doing all kinds of different things just from one station to the next, showing all of its capabilities.
Yeah. The live day, so we did 4 hours of jam-packed all things ag for the Ag Rally 2025. It was awesome feed on Rural Network. It was great. You can go back and watch that. We were even on the Cowboy Channel just a little bit. But being able to just go back and watch those field demonstrations, I always giggled at when they got their four-wheeler stuck in the ravine and they had to get that pulled out. But yeah, hooking up to the trailer, doing all the different tasks, pulling, pushing, all the things that we, typically find ourselves in those predicaments on the farm or the ranch at some point. It's not if, but when.
Yeah.
So having the truck that has those capabilities that can get you out of those binds, that can actually be there when you need it, is super cool. Can't wait to see these ag wagons actually roll out. And talk about, there's ag wagon 001 and 002 are coming out here shortly. Tell us just a little bit about those before we jump off here.
Sure. Well, I'd mentioned that Jim Mueller was one of our stakeholders, and Jim's got the Whiskey Ranch in southeast Kansas, and he's got all kinds of business enterprises all over the place. But huge agriculturalist. Almost everything he does has some agriculture tied in somehow. But Jim was so excited about the Ag Wagon. He said before anybody else did, "I want the first two." And so he actually will be taking delivery of serial numbers 0001 and 0002 here very soon. I think in the next couple of weeks. Again, we've had some raw material things going on, but for the headache racks in this case, that lets us finish them up. His are all built except for those headache racks, and those
That's
are
awesome.
being wrapped up now. But that's the story behind serial numbers 1 and 2. They go to Jim Mueller with the Whiskey Ranch in southeast Kansas.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see Jim driving those around. I know we'll be able to see pictures, videos, all the things.
So Jim, he's so excited about getting these ag wagons that he actually bought his grandgirls a pair of the little kid electric trucks.
Uh-huh.
He actually bought them a pair of Ford electric trucks and had them all logoed up
Ag
AGwagon
wagon.
Whiskey Ranch. So they're mini AGwagons. That's how
Oh, I
excited Jim
love
is
it.
about getting his AGwagons.
I love it. Mini ag wagons, and we're branding the kids. We're bringing them up, right? We're raising this generation up, right, to drive ag wagons. There's going to be ag wagons everywhere for many generations to come. Oh, that's great to hear. Well, Mr. Pat, thank you so much for joining us today, talking about all things ag wagon. Next episode, we're looking forward to hearing what Leighton Berry has to say and Ms. Darla Lent with the PRCA Special Edition ag wagon and all those things. So, you guys stay tuned on Drivin Agricultural Podcast, and we will see you down the road. Welcome back to the Drivin Agricultural Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Joe Hollabaugh, and we're here with our guest today, Mr. Jim Mueller. You guys have heard us talking about him. He is getting the 0001 Ag Wagon for the Ag Wagon Productions. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time today, and welcome to the Drivin Agricultural Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
This has been an adventure, right? I feel you and I talked a little bit earlier. We've been talking about this ag wagon forever. And so we're just all excited
Finally
to get
here.
our hands on it and drive it down the road and actually use it on the ranch, on the farm. As I'm sitting here looking at all the stats that they've given me about you and talking about you, you're literally an all around, we say in the rodeo world, all around cowboy, but you're an all around agricultural guy. You got a farm, you got a ranch, you've got businesses. You put on events in Kansas. You're in Missouri right now. Tell me a little bit about just your background in agriculture really quick.
We run a place called Whiskey Ranch out of Missouri. Actually, we have ranches in Missouri, Kansas, and now Oklahoma. But we run a cow-calf operation, and we also are in the performance horse business. We actually got most of our stock off the NCHA circuit now, and we're focused on taking more retired reiners, cutters, working cow horses, dumbing them down a little bit, and creating really nice family horses that have a good handle. But most of what we do is use our animals on the ranches, chasing mamas and babies. And it's a great spring. We're putting lots of babies on the ground, and we've got quite a bit of country and quite a bit of cattle out there.
Well, and you and I might need to talk a little bit after this podcast, because I think in the breakaway roping world, the horse market's crazy, but we're looking for horses just like that have been cutters, reiners, and have been experienced all of those things. So if you're looking for another place for them to go, you know where I'm at.
Right?
Yeah. And so I think that's so cool. And the one thing I love about anything rodeo, anything agriculture, it feels like you just met somebody, but you've known them forever and you automatically relate to them. And I feel like that's something that we've really experienced a lot with this ag wagon. You were on the panel of farmers and ranchers that came together, and just like you said, all the different faucets that you do, there's several different things that you might need for in an ag wagon, like the capabilities of this truck and day in and day out. So they asked you to be on the original panel to create this truck. Tell me what that process was like and walk me through that. Was it something that you expected? Did you go in there saying, I know this is what I want and this is what we got? Tell me a little bit about that process.
No, it was very interactive. We worked with the Fox Factory folks, now going on a year and a half. There was a group of 6 or 8 of us, some pure farmers, some ranchers, some guys that do a little bit of both. And we had a probably 4 or 5 major skull sessions where we talked about what are our needs. And, specifically, most of what we focus on is ranching. So we're banging across pastures and looking for good lighting, looking for tough bumpers, winches, and most importantly, the suspension and tow package that Fox was able to put together. This is a really well-rounded truck. I think guys in the field are going to be extremely excited about it. It's brand agnostic. I happen to be a Ford guy. Other guys happen to be a Dodge or Chevy fan, but they're making this brand agnostic. They're also going to be coming out with a flatbed, bale bed, which will be exciting. We are really excited at Whiskey Ranch to get the first 2, 0001 and 2, and we're going to put them to use. We're going to put lots of videos out there, and we're going to be showing these off throughout the Midwest.
Well, and I think, I have to backtrack a little bit. I feel like I'm cheating because I got a picture of your granddaughters in their little Ford that you bought for them, which is a very kid version Ford. We're not talking, out of the pocket, but you said you're going to brand that AGwagon too. So this is going to go on for generations. But just talking about the uses that it could be on this ranch, there's so many different things you do day in and day out. So I love how you said too, it's not just if you're Ford, Dodge, GMC, whatever you want, you can put this package on this truck. Now that it's coming into fruition, we're just like literally weeks away from getting our hands on it. What are some of the first few things you're going to do when you get your AGwagon?
Well, we're gonna put it to the test probably. Right now we're hauling lots of calves to the sale barn, and we'll be dragging some trailers up and down the road. We'll be pulling feed wagons. This one's a little too fancy to put a feed bed on, but we're really looking forward to one, using it on the ranch, but also two, showing our friends what all the hard work me and other ranchers and farmers have put into this. And we're really looking forward to hauling it around to some horse shows. We put on the Best of the Midwest horse sale. We're looking forward to showing this vehicle off and hopefully getting some of our friends to go pick one up of their own.
What impact do you think, as you talk about your friends going and picking up one of their own? You were on this panel with several other different farmers and ranchers. What impact do you think this truck is going to have on the industry that we haven't seen yet?
I think, one of the problems are for guys like us, we go through a lot of trucks because, like I said, we're banging across pastures, running in the gates, pulling heavy trailers. They get multiple uses on a daily basis. And I think we're going to see a lot more longevity, which is going to save guys in the long run money. Obviously, it costs more money to get into this truck, but we think the longevity of what this truck's going to bring to farmers and ranchers across the United States is really going to be worth the upfront expense.
Yeah, 100%. When I actually got into and sat in the first AGwagon at the show, just looking at all the features, I was same as you. I'm like, oh, obviously all women, I don't know if I'm speaking for all women, just maybe myself. I need a bumper and front and back because I'm running into something. I mean, it's just going to happen. And sometimes I like to run into things for fun. But yeah, I mean, then you look at the winch, the lights, even for me as a rodeo athlete, lighting is something we don't ever have. A winch would be so handy to come in. I have no idea how many times my friends have gotten stuck, or even I've gotten stuck out there in the different parking lots and stuff that we go in. There's a feature on there that I absolutely love that I think was maybe a rodeo component, but we can actually watch our horses in the trailer, which you, I'm sure, will absolutely use as well. Same thing, hauling your horses to the shows and all those things. So for me, it was just really neat to actually see it come into fruition. I'd heard about it, but like actually seeing it applied and come into fruition and all the different tools on there, I thought was so cool. If you were going to tell somebody today that's not really sure, they're like, well, what's the difference in an AGwagon? Like, why would I really need that when I can just add on these things? What would you tell that person?
That's a very good question. And I've been talking this up for quite a long time. So all my friends have heard me preaching about the AGwagon. But I think at the end of the day, the really nuts and bolts of this project was the suspension and the towing capacity. And I think that's what guys that are actually on a farm or ranch are really going to appreciate. This has better suspension package than anything out you can get on the market. I mean, anything you can buy off the factory floor or add aftermarket. This will have the best suspension, best tow of any truck out there, and that's what we're really excited about. Now, like you said, the light package, the bumpers, the winch. We love the air compressor under the back seat. Mm-hmm. We're constantly blowing up side-by-side tires or tractor tires, so that's a great feature as well. But really, the core of the suspension and the tow package is what's going to sell this vehicle.
100%. I'm excited to get mine. I know you're excited to get yours.
Absolutely.
You're just like I said, a couple weeks away from getting this. We're going to see these all around the world at the rodeos too. And next week we're going to be talking to Pro Rodeo Edition. We're talking to our fierce leader, Leighton Berry. Not sure if you've heard of him, bareback rider. Yeah. And then Ms. Darla Lent with PRCA. So it's also going to be at the rodeos, which I love that it's mixing agriculture and rodeo. And just like you're in every kind of equine sports. Anybody and everybody that does equine sports, farming, ranching, anything, this literally applies to everybody. So I'm excited about that. And who knows, in a few years, your granddaughters, they'll probably have their own
Yeah,
special
absolutely.
AGwagon
We're
edition.
getting them started mutton busting this year. Then we'll go from there.
Absolutely love it. All right. Well, Mr. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time today. Can't
Thank
wait to
you.
see pictures of you and your new ag wagons. And we appreciate you for supporting us at Ag Truck Trader.
Thank you so much.
All right. Welcome back to the Drivin Agriculture Podcast. I'm Peyton Valentine, and we are switching gears just a little bit. I'm taking over the driver's seat for Jordan Joe and going to be talking with Flynn Woods from Fox Factory. Welcome, Flynn.
Hey, how's it going, Peyton?
Doing well. It's a wonderful day, and we're getting to talk about AGwagon. So what's more exciting than that?
Not a whole lot. That's right.
So, Flynn, you are with Fox Factory, the team that the Certified Agriculture Group has partnered with to create this first purpose-built farm and ranch truck. And you were kind of, you played a key role in the design element of that. What is your position with Fox and kind of your background? Tell us a little bit about Flynn.
Sure. So at Fox, I'm the senior manager of product development. So we have a design, an engineering, and an integration team. So there's 3 individual teams. So I'm over those 3 teams. So on the front end, we have the design team doing concept work, sketches, gaining user feedback, in customer feedback, incorporating that into the designs. Then they will transition those sketches and A-side CAD information to engineering, who will take it and actually turn it into a part that can be manufactured. They'll do all their design for manufacturing work, and then it'll pass over to our suppliers who create the parts, metal fab bumpers, any injection molded components, and then it goes over to the integration team, and those guys are doing the test installs. They're giving feedback to design and engineering on where we need to tweak the parts to fit better, or if there's any clearance, rub issues, safety issues. And ultimately, they will create the work instructions, create any of the warranty information that's required, and train our production teams as they start production on these builds.
That's awesome. So, and you've worked on multiple brands, correct? The Black Widow, the Rocky Ridge, some of the other ones. But like I said, today we're here talking about the AGwagon, the first purpose-built farm and ranch truck. And for any of our listeners who might not be familiar, I know we've talked with Jim on this episode, who is a farmer and rancher that was on the panel. He's actually getting the first couple of AGwagons that are being produced. We've talked with Pat on this episode as well, kind of talking about the concept of the AGwagon. But tell us a little bit about, that conversation that you had with those 14 farmers and ranchers when we all got together, we all jumped on the line. I can actually say I was one of those 14 farmers and ranchers as well, have a cow-calf operation here in Texas. So it was really exciting to be a part of that. Tell us a little bit about your perspective and what it was like to get that feedback and that input from these farmers and ranchers.
I think it was highly, highly valuable. You spoke about the other brands that we have built. We do Shelby, American, we do Harley Davidson, Black Widow, Rocky Ridge, and some of those are more aesthetic builds. Some of them are a solid mix between your performance and your aesthetics. And the challenge for us with this AGwagon is it was something that we haven't quite done before. Being with Fox Factory, associated with Fox Shocks, performance is a big deal. And so I think this is one of those builds that really stretched our capacity, and we really just gained a whole bunch of experience with this build. If you're looking at onboard air and some of the other things, that's something that we historically have not done. But it all started with talking to those farmers and ranchers, understanding what are the needs that you guys have, what are you seeing, what's your customer experience whenever you buy a truck, what are you changing on your trucks, is there certain features that add a whole lot of value, are there things that you don't really care too much for. And so having that dialogue, especially, with our background being more off-road, on-road, not so much in the farm ag space, it was just really great feedback from that team. And I think we all really enjoyed it.
Being one of those farmers and ranchers myself, the thing that I really loved about being a part of that panel and having those discussions with you and your engineer and your design and your concept teams, for the first time, I've been a part of the automotive industry for the last 10 years. And for the first time in my experience, this really gave agriculture a voice in the automotive industry, because we use our trucks differently. They're not just pavement princesses, or, they're not just grocery getters getting you from point A to point B. They truly are a part of our livelihood, and they are a tool that we're using day in and day out. So, it was really cool to see all of the feedback and the input that the farmer and rancher panels was giving you guys. And then my hats are off to you and your teams, because you took that feedback, you took that input, and you brought it to fruition with the AGwagon. For the standard AGwagon, there's 28 modifications that have been done to it, to the stock vehicle. And it's kind of cool because, you talked about some of the other brands being a little bit more aesthetic and looking good, right? Whereas every modification on this AGwagon is truly purpose built. It has a reason and a purpose behind it. And that's one of the things that I really love about this design.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's the perfect balance between aesthetic and but really leaning more into that performance and capability aspect. And one of the highlights of this AgWagon project in general was that we got to take that farmer rancher feedback at the very front end and then run with it and then ultimately circle back at the end of the process and essentially show, hey, this is where we went with your feedback, and this is ultimately what we delivered. And whenever we had that feedback loop at the end where it was the validation of hey, we're meeting that need, that's really really solid for us. It's a really great feeling whenever you pick a design direction based off feedback. You do a bunch of work, a bunch of tooling, a lot of hours went into developing that Ford AgWagon. And at the end of the day, whenever you arrive at the end and people are just blown away with the product, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, I have to say, I was out at NFR this last year, and we had a couple of AgWagons on display. And to see some of those farmers and ranchers come in that had not seen the actual truck yet, and seeing their reaction and their responses to seeing it in person. And, they were almost kind of emotional about it. And I understand and I resonate with that, because it's such a powerful tool that is truly going to change the agricultural industry. Just looking at some of the features, personally, one of my favorite features is the 360 lighting that we have all the way around, because I can't tell you, being a rancher, work doesn't stop when the sun goes down. And a lot of times it's starting before the sun ever comes up. So having that 360 lighting and really being able to, go out there, if I have a colicky horse, they like to do that at the most inconvenient times. So you can actually go out there and tend to them, or if you're pulling a calf, or if you're having to fix a fence or something, it's just really convenient having that. The onboard air compressor, how many times have we had a tractor tire go flat once again at the most inconvenient time? So having that, some of the other features is just really, really incredible and really intentional. Now I want to talk a little bit, because we have you on there from Fox Factory, and Fox is really well known for their suspension. Across the board from the farmers and ranchers, we were hearing, give me a truck that I'm not replacing my front end on it every single year. And you guys did that. So tell me a little bit about the role that your normal suspension technology played into the design of the AgWagon.
Sure. So a lot of our suspension kits, essentially all of them, are supplied by BDS suspension, and those guys have some of the best suspensions on the market. They're really beefy, and that's where it ultimately came back to that feedback of, hey, we want shocks and suspension that we're not replacing. So we took our essentially one of our beefiest suspension kits from BDS, and then paired that with the Fox 2.5 Performance Elite Series coilovers. And so you get the perfect mix of capability in terms of a little bit more ground clearance with that 3-inch kit, but it's also not too tall. You've got the beefy radius arms, which again stabilize the front end of the vehicle, especially going through towing situations and bumps and you know, any hard terrain there. And then the capability to change the shock settings based off of, you might be hauling a heavier load, so you might want to loosen them up a little bit. But whenever you go and you are, essentially bobtailing it down the road, don't have a horse trailer or anything like that, you can get outside the vehicle again and change that suspension to dial in that ride quality.
Yeah. I love that it's so customizable based on your needs. Because me, as a cattle producer in Texas, I might have different needs than, say, a fruit grower in Michigan. So
Mhm.
having the ability to truly customize that based on the way that you like it to drive, I think that feature is really, really cool. So, friend, what are some of your favorite features that you're seeing on the AgWagon?
I think being the engineer at heart, I think my what I would call the coolest features probably aren't necessarily the coolest, but there's little details. I think the onboard air, like you mentioned earlier, is uh, just a really cool add. It's it's functional, but there's also the air hose reel that you can option into the Molly panels in the bed, and so now not only do you have an air compressor on board for your airbags, but you've also got a 30-foot hose reel that easily expands and retracts whether you need to air up a tire on your own truck or if you've got a horse trailer or flatbed or something like that that you need to put air in those tires. So that one's, it's a little thing, it's a little air hose reel, but it just to me, it all speaks back to that functionality that you're talking about. It's those little details. I think from the engineering and design integration perspective, that front bumper, the safety features that are built into it, we had to modify some of the material thicknesses to accept the parking sensors so that they would work right. Our design and engineering team had to make an injection molded cover for the cruise control module so it functions properly. So the details where it's not flashy, but it's what makes the vehicle safe. It's all the sensors are functional. All your safety systems that come from Ford from the factory are all still functional and function as intended.
So let's talk about that a little bit more because that's really important. Sometimes people can go in and take their trucks in for an upfit and they don't get all of those same safety features or they don't get all the same warranties. But with AgWagon, you do. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So again, I think whenever we had done the rally session a few weeks ago, one of the things that I mentioned is at Fox Factory, safety is paramount for us, and so uh, speaking to that aspect, all your sensors function as intended. Essentially, whenever we upfit a vehicle, we want it to function the same way that it did whenever it left Ford, if not better. And to your point with that, with the AgPack and everything there, it's not just you're customizing the truck, you're also getting that warranty, that 3-year 36, making sure that if there is any issues, you are taken care of. Sometimes what you'll see if you were to try to do it yourself is you can install bigger tires, but did you recalibrate your tire size in the Ford programming module to where your speedometer is reading correctly? Did you recalibrate any of your ADAS systems? So we do all those calibrations, and that's really a lot of the difference between getting a truck, doing it yourself, at a dealership or maybe at a custom shop versus it coming through us is we um, we do all the safety checks, we do all the recalibrations, everything that's needed for that vehicle to function in the same way it did when it left Ford.
I love that. Safety is super important, especially doing all the stuff that we're doing on farms and ranches and pulling the weight that we're pulling. I think that's really important. So it maintains all of those OEM manufacturer warranties as well, whether it's built on that Ford, Ram, GMC, or those Chevys that are coming as well. We do also have CAD Protect. So we at the Certified Agriculture Group, we partner with ProGuard Automotive for extended contracts. So this is actually specifically designed for agricultural vehicles because a lot of times we know in those extended contracts and those warranties, they are actually excluded if they are used on a farm or ranch. So those ag wagons can get that extra layer of protection on there with those warranties on top of all of the OEM manufacturer warranties and safeties. So I think that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, Flynn, what do you hope that AgWagon does for the community of, farmers and ranchers? How do you feel like this is going to be a game changer?
I think it all boils back to giving the end consumer what helps, or essentially giving the end consumer the best product that helps them succeed. And so, farmers and ranchers, we know everybody, those guys really work hard. They work, like you mentioned earlier, early in the morning, late at night. And so, one of the things we always try to do is maximize efficiency. So we want to make sure that, if you buy an ag product or an ag wagon, you basically go to that dealership, you buy the truck and you go to the farm or wherever you need to go, versus if you buy a stock truck and then you have to take it somewhere, you have to pick out the components, you have to pick out the things that you want on there, and at the end of the day, that's time away from the farm. So we want to make sure we want that end consumer is able to do what they need to do. And I'm hoping that the AGwagon will just bring that to the market. It'll be a turnkey truck that's ready to go. You can show up at the dealership with your old truck, towing a horse trailer, and literally leave your old truck there, take the AGwagon, hook it up, and keep about your day.
Yep. And with agriculture, time is money. So that is definitely helpful for sure. So, well, Flynn, we're about to wrap it up, but I do want to tease a little bit of our next episode. So we're going to really hone in on the AGwagon Pro Rodeo Special Edition in the next episode. So we took the same concepts of that 14 farmer and rancher panel that got on the phone with you and your teams, and that made the AGwagon ag capable. Well, we took it a step further and we got you back on the phone with your teams and executives from PRCA, as well as our Pro Rodeo team, the Ag Truck Trader Pro Rodeo team, all of our 5 members and our team as well. And we made that AGwagon that was already ag capable rodeo capable by adding 10 additional features on top of those 28 modifications. So just wanted to throw that little bit of a teaser out there. If you want to learn more about that Pro Rodeo Special Edition, make sure you are tuning in to the next episode. And Flynn, thank you so much for joining us on the Drivin Agricultural Podcast. There are going to be some great things coming, and I know that I am personally very excited, so I'm sure we'll have you back soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peyton.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.